Night Demon Yaksha, Part 4. Uncle Two began to recount, after Quach finished telling his tragic story about the ghostly woman who caused the death of his wife and child. Everyone was quietly weeping with sympathy for his fate. As for me, Uncle Two said, by then I was already drunk, feeling like a brother in shared pain. I picked up the bottle and took a long swig, downing half of it in one go, then said, "Brother Quach, drink this with me. There's nothing to be sad about. I believe your wife and child will soon be reincarnated and begin life anew as good people." Quach looked at me as if to thank me, then drank the rest in one shot. Uncle Two grew impatient and said, "You two better slow down. I can see you're already drunk as hell." I hiccuped under the influence. "What do you mean, Uncle? I'm totally sober." "Then what are you two doing, finishing the whole bottle? What am I supposed to drink?" "Don't worry, Uncle. Aunt Hai just brought out a new one." By this time, the incense had burned out. I staggered around and grabbed 3 more sticks, lit them, and stuck them back on the chair. Brother Quach looked at me and laughed. "Your turn now, how?" I squinted my eyes and turned to ask. "My turn for what?" "To tell a ghost story for Uncle and me to hear, of course." I nodded off for a bit, then said, "Ah, a ghost story, right? Okay, Uncle, okay, Brother Quach. Tonight, I'll tell everyone a secret hardly anyone knows. All right, listen up. Now I'll switch to my own narration so everyone can follow the story more closely. First, let me give you a brief intro about myself. My full name is Nguyen Hao. I'm 23 years old, currently a final year biology student. Everyone in my family calls me the stubborn one, because I've never known fear and don't believe in ghosts, spirits, gods, or anything supernatural. If someone says something I think is unreasonable, I'll find every possible way to prove them wrong. But in contrast, everyone in my family believes in fate, reincarnation, and karma, from my maternal grandparents to my aunts, uncles, and even my mom. I've seen my mom mumbling prayers at the ancestor altar many times. I once blurted out, "Mom, our ancestors have been dead for hundreds of years. There's no way they can hear your prayers." And boy, did I get a scolding for that. I live with my parents and my 8-year-old sister in a small house at the end of the road. Right next to ours is my grandparents' old 3-chamber ancestral house. Even though it's quite run down now, they've never wanted to renovate it or build a new one. I used to wonder why they were so stuck in the past until Grandpa explained that keeping it the way it is helps preserve the family's fortune and luck. The house, handed down by our ancestors through generations, has stood through time without being torn down, thus retaining spiritual energy. It's considered a sacred ancestral home that must never be destroyed. That's when I understood why every day, Grandpa and Grandma would carefully clean everything from the ancestor altar to the back kitchen, keeping the incense burning without pause. Being a skeptic, I thought about convincing them to build a more comfortable house so they wouldn't have to toil like that daily. But then I realized that house was their only solace, tearing it down might break their spirits. Plus, my youngest uncle and aunt lived there too and could help care for them. So in the end, I just kept my mouth shut. A few days later, it was time for my step-grandfather's death anniversary. So I decided to invite a group of friends to visit my place for a few days. The moment they heard trip, everyone eagerly agreed without hesitation. That afternoon, we all met up and rode our bikes from the city to my countryside home. On the road, Long never stopped talking, from the sky to the earth, even asking how many eggs my chicken laid. As annoying as he was, he had a good heart. Sitting behind Long was Phuong, a rather fiery girl and the only one who could tame him. You could say they were each other's nemesis. Whenever they met, it was a verbal war zone. Long would often joke, if the heavens gave birth to Long, why bother with Phuong? But despite the bickering, they were inseparable. When one wasn't around, the other couldn't sit still, like one of those "it's obvious we're into each other but won't admit it" situations. In front of me was Tung Deung, the quietest guy in the group. He always pushed up his sagging French-style glasses like some wise scholar. And honestly, he really was one. This dude was a certified bookworm. He once memorized all 3,254 verses of the Tale of Kyo in a single night. He could breeze through political theory textbooks like they were bedtime stories. He could remember anything after just one read, which probably explained why he always seemed lost in the clouds. And finally, the girl sitting behind me, Jia Han. Smart, beautiful, kind, capable, and emotionally intelligent. I'm sure you can guess how much I liked her. But to be honest, I only liked her in silence. We had studied together for 4 years, and I never once told her how I felt. Long knew about my crush, and I made him swear not to tell anyone. He scolded me for days, lecturing me, "You like her but keep it bottled up? Who's gonna know? You planning to ferment those feelings? Are you even a man?" But I just ignored him. I knew what I was doing. This time, when we returned to my hometown, Han's boyfriend wasn't with her. As we turned the bend down the road to my house, night had already begun to fall. The deeper we went, the more winding and difficult the road became. Dune took the lead since his bike's headlights were the brightest, followed by Long, and I brought up the rear. The wind picked up that night, and the coconut trees along the roadside rustled loudly. The howling wind sounded almost like people whispering in the dark. After a while, Long slowed down and said to me with a shiver, "Hey How, your road's creepy as hell. What if we run into something, you know, that kind of thing?" He shuddered. Fong smacked him hard on the head. "You know I'm scared of ghosts, and you're trying to freak me out?" Han and I burst out laughing. I tried to reassure them. "Stop talking nonsense, Long. I've walked this road at night who knows how many times to buy stuff and never saw anything weird. There's no such thing as what you're imagining." Long scratched his head nervously and said, "Hope so. But I still get the chills. Wait, where's Dune? He probably went ahead. Come on, let's catch up before he gets lost." After saying that, I urged Long to speed up and chase after Duong. We finally managed to catch up, but we were still about 100 meters behind. That's when Long's face suddenly went pale, and he stammered, "Hey, I think there's someone in white sitting on the back of Duong's bike, isn't there?" Hearing that, Han, Fuang, and I squinted hard, trying to see, but it was too dark. The trees along both sides of the road were thick and overgrown, and our bike lights were too dim to make out anything clearly. Before we could see anything, Duong's bike had already turned at a bend and disappeared. I didn't have time to call him back because that road didn't lead to my house, it led straight to the village cemetery. We followed in after him, only to find Duong sprawled out limply on an old mossy grave nearby. His bike had been thrown some distance away, its engine still sputtering and crackling. All around were graves, nothing but graves, and not a soul in sight. We rushed over to help Duong sit up. Han quickly pressed her thumb under his nose, and after a moment, he slowly came to. "You okay? What happened? Why the hell did you suddenly ride in here?" "I just got a few scratches. While I was riding, I suddenly felt tired, dizzy. I don't even know why I turned in here." He rubbed his head. Long asked again, "Who was that you were giving a ride to earlier?" "I wasn't giving anyone a ride." "You're sure you didn't let anyone hop on?" "No." "Oh my God, don't tell me, we actually saw that thing." Long started trembling violently, which made Fuang panic too. She clutched Long's arm tightly. "Don't scare me like that. This place gives me the creeps. Let's just go, please." Once again, I had to calm the two scaredy cats down. "Don't listen to Long. He's talking nonsense. He must have seen wrong in the dark. I didn't see anyone either. There's no such thing as ghosts, it's all nonsense." Han added, "Hal's right. I didn't see anything either. But I did see something. I swear, believe me." Long whined. Fuang urged again, "Whatever. Let's just get out of here, I really don't want to stay any longer." "Yeah, let's go." "Duong, can you still ride your bike?" I asked, helping him up. Yeah, I'm fine. Then I glanced over at Long. At that moment, he suddenly froze in place, not moving a muscle, mouth hanging open as if trying to say something but no sound coming out. I urged him again. The fog's rolling in. Let's go, man. You planning to stand here till morning? Suddenly, he grabbed Fuang's hand and took off running without even looking back. We quickly followed, leaving the eerie, silent cemetery behind. The croaks of frogs and chirps of crickets echoed from the grassy mounds around us. I looked back one last time and saw only the pale, blurry outlines of whitewashed graves fading into the distance. Finally, we made it home. My parents were waiting outside in the yard near the willow tree. Hearing the sound of our bikes, my grandparents came out too. My grandmother, hair completely white but still strong and full of life, patted my head and scolded. You little rascal! Why are you home so late? You had us old folks worried sick. I laughed and hugged her. Come on, Grandma. Your grandson made it back safe and sound, didn't he? I've told you so many times not to stay out too late, especially on those deserted village roads. You never know what kind of filthy things you might run into. Grandma, how many times do I have to say it? There aren't that many ghosts in this world. Science has already proven that ghosts are just human imagination. If you won't listen to what I say, I won't even look at you anymore. I get it. I'll listen to you. Oh, by the way, are you still carrying that talisman I gave you? I pouted and pulled out the red string with the talisman attached, tucked inside my shirt. When Grandma saw I was still wearing the charm she gave me 10 years ago, she nodded in approval. Looks like you still listen to your old grandma. That's a protection charm. Always keep it with you to ward off evil spirits, you hear? Grandma, I am fine, right? But my friend wasn't so lucky. He fell off his bike in the cemetery earlier. Thankfully, it was just a few light scrapes. Hearing that, Grandpa suddenly spoke up. Heavens! Are you planning to scold the boy outside all night, or are you going to let them come inside to wash up and rest? He walked over to Duong. Let me see your hand, kid. Duong quickly held up his injured hand. Grandpa turned it over and inspected it closely. He noticed something milky white around the wound. After a few seconds of thought, he sighed. All right, everyone, come inside. I've got something I need to ask. Hearing that, we all headed in. As soon as we stepped inside, Long didn't say a word. He just leapt onto the wooden bed and pulled the blanket tightly over himself. He looked absolutely terrified. Everyone gathered around the table in the center of the main room. My dad told my mom to go make a pot of hot tea. Under the dim yellow bulb hanging from the ceiling, my grandfather sat silently, taking a slow drag from his hand-rolled cigarette. The tip glowed red as he exhaled. Then, he slowly walked over to the ancestral altar and lit a large bundle of incense sticks. Turning back to us, he said, Kids, come here and light the incense. After we lit the incense sticks, Grandpa motioned for us to sit down. His voice grew heavier. What exactly happened on your way home? We told him everything from start to finish. As he listened, his expression became more thoughtful. He said, Do you kids realize what you've gotten yourselves into? Jia Han spoke quickly. What do you mean, Grandpa? A spiritual entanglement. Hearing that, everyone stared at each other wide-eyed, mouths agape in worry. Long suddenly threw off the blanket and jumped into the group. Grandpa, I told them already, but they didn't believe me. I really did see it. I looked at Long and burst out laughing. You're so paranoid. Classic scaredy-cat behavior. Say what you want, but I know what I saw. Not just once, twice. Twice? Han was confused. I thought you only saw someone in white sitting behind Dune's motorbike. The second time was at the cemetery, right when we were about to leave. I looked toward the huge tamarind tree growing amidst the graves, and there she was, a girl in white, her long hair covering her face, waving at us. I was so scared I almost peed my pants. After saying that, he gulped down a full cup of hot tea. Knowing Long's tendency to joke around and exaggerate, I patted his shoulder and said, "Go take a shower and get some rest. Quit trying to scare everyone with ghost stories. No one else saw anything, it's just your imagination again. I'm serious. I didn't make any of this up." My grandfather chimed in. "I don't think Long is lying. Do you all know what that white powder on Dune's hand was?" Fong rubbed a little between her fingers and said, "Probably lime from the grave he crashed into." My grandfather shook his head. "No, that was cremated ash." Hearing that, Fong screamed and quickly tried to wash her hand with tea. When you all arrived, Dune's complexion was pale, and there was a dark mark on his forehead. I knew something wasn't right. The more he spoke, the harder it was for me to believe. Though I knew Grandpa had always believed in spirits and ghosts, I couldn't help but argue. "Grandpa, that was just lime powder. If you keep saying it's ashes, my friends won't dare come back here again. I'm only telling you the truth. That really was ash. People who are spiritually entangled often experience this. First, the spirit leads them to visit its home, that could be where it died or where its remains are buried. It then marks the person with some of its ashes, so that no matter where the person goes, they can't escape. Afterward, the spirit will try to bring the person down to live with them. These spirits didn't get to reincarnate or refuse to do so, so they linger with intense resentment. If you don't deal with it in time, it could cost you your life." Jia Han looked uneasy. "So Dune is the one entangled? And the girl Long saw is the ghost following him? That means the grave Dune crashed into is hers?" "That could be the case," Grandpa replied gently. "Can you show me where the grave is in the cemetery?" Jia Han thought for a while, then said, "It's past a few dirt graves near the entrance, the one with faded white lime on it. I think there were 2 trees in front of it, but it was too dark to see clearly. I'm sure it didn't have any name or inscription." "Han's right," Fong added. Dune looked at Han in confusion, pushing his glasses up. "What are you guys talking about? That grave clearly had a name. It read Hong Ti-yen, born 1950, died July 30th, 1967. We all looked at each other in shock. None of us had seen any writing on that grave, only some chipped white lime. At that moment, a cold wind blew in from outside, making everyone shiver. My grandfather seemed to recall something and spoke up. "So it's her. According to what I know, the girl you encountered was raped and murdered decades ago. Her throat was slit even after she died. She was only 17. Seems like only those spiritually entangled can see what others can't." Long interjected. "So if I saw her too, that means I'm spiritually entangled too?" "Not necessarily. The human soul consists of 3 spirits and 7 essences, representing yin and yang energy. If your spirits outweigh your essences, you're more likely to encounter ghosts than normal people." "Oh, that makes me feel better. Still, you all should be careful. Don't go out late at night for the next few days." Everyone nodded in agreement. My grandfather calmly pulled out a packet of tobacco, rolled a cigarette, lit it, then stood and told Dune to roll up his sleeve. He walked over to the ancestral altar, muttered a few prayers, took a handful of incense ash from the censer, and returned. He rubbed the ash over the wound where the cremated ash had touched. Dune grimaced in pain. Grandpa patted his shoulder and said, "You can relax now. I used ancestral incense ash to cover the ghost's ashes. For now, it won't find you. When the Memorial Day passes, I'll help you get rid of it completely. But until then, don't go near that cemetery again." "I understand, Grandpa. But earlier you said it was only temporary." "What do you mean?" "I'm only using the protection of our ancestors to blind the ghost for now. Its resentment is so strong that I can't deal with it fully on my own. But don't worry, I'll find someone who can help." "Thank you, Grandpa." "No need to thank me. You're Ngang's friend, so you're my grandson too." He laughed heartily. Long, always curious, chimed in. How do you know so much about this stuff, Grandpa? Are you a shaman? Oh, you've got it wrong. I just picked up bits and pieces from an old friend. So your friend is the real spiritual master? That's right. He's a powerful shaman, though he's a bit eccentric. Everyone calls him Master Nam. That's great. If he's your friend, then Dung is saved. You should say Dung is very lucky. What do you mean? Phuong asked, puzzled. This story goes back 10 years ago, during the death anniversary of Ngang's great-grandfather. Ngang was only 13. The sky was strangely overcast that day, no rain, but thunder rumbled constantly. Around 3 in the afternoon, just as we were offering incense, I saw a strange man standing outside the hibiscus fence, staring into our house for a long time. He wore an old Taoist robe, hair tied in a topknot, and carried a brownish-yellow cloth bag. He looked ageless, with a beard that almost touched his chest, and he had an unusual aura. I was about to ask what he wanted when he suddenly walked straight into the house and headed to the kitchen. He grabbed Ngang's hand, examined his palm, then steadied his face. I had no idea what was going on. He then walked back to the front room, took a sip of tea, and turned to me with a solemn expression. Is he your grandson? Yes, he is. He has a blessed face, but his fate is poor. I fear he won't live past the age of 15. When the old man said that, my grandfather was furious. Who was this stranger, coming into his house and claiming his grandson had a short life? He shouted, "Who are you to come into my house spouting nonsense?" But the old man remained calm. Hasn't your grandson been constantly sick this past year? Accidents befalling him one after another? Grandpa thought back and realized it was true. Ngang had been ill multiple times, once even hit by a car and nearly died. More recently, while swimming in the river with neighborhood kids, he almost drowned. Luckily, someone saved him just in time. Remembering this, Grandpa began to waver but still asked, "How do you know all that?" The old man didn't bother answering his question. He just continued, "Was he born at 9 a.m. on the 9th day of the 9th month? How do you know even that?" At this point, Grandpa was convinced the old man wasn't lying, which meant his grandson really was in danger. He lowered his voice. "May I ask, are you a sorcerer?" "Just call me Master Nam Nan. Your grandson's fate is extremely rare. He is a natural bane to evil spirits. That's precisely why spirits from all over want to harm him. Please, Master Nam, help him. I'll forever be in your debt. I can save him, but there's one condition. And it's the only way he can be saved. Whatever the condition, just say it. You must allow him to become my disciple. To be your disciple is a blessing for generations." "I agree." "Wait. Think carefully before you answer. Once he becomes my disciple, he cannot marry. That is the ancient rule." "What? He can't marry?" "That's right." Grandpa was shocked. His son only had one boy. If Ngang couldn't marry, who would carry on the family line? He discussed it with Ngang's parents, and in the end, with no other option, they agreed to Master Nam's condition. Then the old man added, "He's still too young to train in the spiritual arts. I'll give him a protective talisman that will ward off evil for 10 years. He can stay with his family for now. But 10 years from today, bring him to see me. And remember, he must always keep the talisman on him. If he loses it, he may not survive. But how will we find you 10 years from now? Don't worry. When the time comes, I'll send someone to let you know where I am. Now I must go help another in need." And with that, the old man left. Though he stayed in our village for another year, helping many people banish evil spirits, he eventually vanished without a trace. Just a few days ago, someone came to tell us where he now lives. Tomorrow marks the 10-year date when Ngang must meet him and become his disciple. At that time, Duong, I want you to accompany him for support. After hearing the story, everyone understood the situation. But I just found it absurd. All because of the words of some shady mystic. Grandma made me wear this talisman for 10 whole years. Now I have to become his disciple and go deceive people all over the place. The worst part, I'm not allowed to marry? Absolutely ridiculous. I swore to myself, when I meet him, I'll give him a beating he'll never forget for deceiving others. That night, after dinner, everyone went to sleep. I couldn't, so I put on a light jacket and stepped out to the front yard to look at the stars and get some air. As I stepped out, I saw Jia Han sitting alone, crying. She must have had a fight with her boyfriend. I walked over and sat beside her in silence. The air was chilly, so I took off my jacket and gently placed it over her shoulders. Still, we said nothing. She just kept crying. The sky felt especially empty that night. The next day, the death anniversary ceremony lasted until late afternoon. After cleaning up, Grandpa called me over. You and the others should get ready. It's getting dark. Go now to make it in time. Master Nam said to meet him in the forest across the water lily swamp. Follow the trail and you'll find him. Be careful. I didn't want to go at all, but I couldn't disobey Grandpa, so I stayed quiet and did as he said, though I was burning inside. Still, I had a plan. When I met the old man, I'd expose him right in front of everyone. So we followed the dirt path toward the water lily swamp. By the time we got there, it was already nightfall. We climbed into Uncle Tam's small canoe and began paddling. It was almost a full moon, and the dim light peeked out from behind the nipa palms, casting shimmering shadows on the water as our paddles disturbed the surface. That swamp had once been a fierce battleground between our people and the Americans, and many lives were lost there. Locals whispered that every night, you could hear people laughing and talking in the swamp, even though no one was ever around. If it weren't for our boat, the surface would have been still as death. During this trip, I realized Long was more cowardly than a girl, clinging to Phuong's arm the whole time, which made me chuckle. Our boat glided along the narrow streams. The water was so clear that Han reached down to stir it playfully. Suddenly, she screamed and fell to the side, nearly capsizing the boat. I stopped paddling and shone my flashlight on her pale, terrified face. Han, what happened? She stammered. Someone grabbed my hand from under the water. I quickly pointed the flashlight at the water and saw a floating palm frond nearby. Look, Han, it's just a piece of palm. Nothing to worry about. But I swear it was a cold hand that grabbed me. Don't think too much. Let's keep moving. I started paddling again. Han didn't dare touch the water anymore. Eventually, we reached the shore and followed a trail into the forest. The trees on both sides formed a twisted maze. Now and then, we heard animals rustling, startling everyone. The forest still retained its raw, damp scent of decay. After a while, the flashlight suddenly died, plunging us into total darkness. Long and Phuong's fear of ghosts returned. They clung to me so tightly I could barely breathe. Phuong quickly suggested we all hold hands to avoid getting lost. Everyone agreed. We walked for a long time until moonlight finally broke through the trees. We stopped to rest. Phuong turned to Han. You were really scared earlier. Why were you squeezing my hand so hard? It hurt like hell. Also, your hand was ice cold. Han looked confused. I've been walking on this side the whole time. Phuong collapsed in shock, sobbing uncontrollably. Just then, the flashlight flickered back on. I didn't think much of it and shone it at Phuong's arm. There were dark bruises shaped like fingers all over her skin. Han rushed over to help her up. I was shaken. Who could have gripped her that hard? Then it hit me, it had to be that old man's doing. He wanted to scare us so we'd believe in him. The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to confront him. Fueled with anger, I urged everyone to hurry and ran ahead. The others chased after me.